last session, we discussed about creating each UVM components like agent, monitor, driver, sequencer, okay, and environment. So on top of environment, we have UVM test. So here in UVM test, this I inherited or extended from our actual test is inherited from UVM test. So here we are writing the actual individual test cases. So here we are doing two things. One is we are initiate the UVM environment, and the building process happens environment below the environment. We have agent, then agent creates a sequence of variable and monitor. So another thing, we are instantiating, we are activating the test. That is which sequence has to pass to the which sequencer with the help of start method. That also we are doing in test. So how we can activate a test? By giving a run test in the top module. So within this bracket we have to mention the test case name, so that appropriate test will be started. So today we are going to see about UVM sequences, okay, and how the sequence item transfer to the sequencer and driver. Sequence is derived from UVM sequence, and it parameterized with sequence item type. So this is a sequence I am creating class first random sequence. So this is extends from UVM sequence. So it should be parameterized by which type of sequence item we are using. So if you see the sequence, sequencer and driver, these things should be parameterized with this sequence item type we are using. So all these are dealing with the sequence item, right? So every component should be parameterized with the sequence item type. Here two important properties are there. One is body method, which is used inside the sequence, and another one is M-sequence handle. So body method, the content of the body method that determines what sequence does. The actual generation of the sequence happens in the body method. Then M-sequencer handle. So M-sequencer handle contains the reference to the sequencer on which the sequence is running. It's nothing but the default M-sequencer is the default handle of the sequencer where this sequence is going to run. Okay. So steps to run a sequence. Okay. Inside a test, first step we have to create a sequence creation. So how we can create sequence? By declaring a sequence and using create method, we can able to create the sequence. Okay. So this sequence should be, once you write a sequence, that sequence also should be registered to a factory. Okay. So that we can able to override with one sequence to another sequence. Okay. So this is the way inside the test we are declaring a sequence. M sequence with the sequence name. Okay. This is the handle name of sequence. Then inside the build phase of the test, you have to create object for the sequence. M sequence, my sequence, type ID create M sequence. Then step 2, sequence configuration. If we want to configure anything within the sequence, okay, so that step we have to do the test before make the connection between sequence.sequencer. So before that, we have to make some setups if required. Okay. Setup start value, example start address or data value. Okay, that start address, if I want to set early before the sequence to start, okay, so I need to configure that. Or setting up generation loop variable. Okay, inside the sequence, I have one local variable. Okay, that is helpful for running the number of iterations. Okay, so that can able to set from the test by this two methods. One is this is direct method. Okay, M sequence dot number of iteration. Okay, this number of iteration which is available in the sequence. Okay, here this code I am writing in the test. Okay, I want to set up. I want to generate the sequence for 10 times. Okay, so I can able to configure that in the test by direct assignment. Sequence handle dot number of iteration equal to 10. Okay, this is a direct assignment. Another way you can also assign like this, random assignment. M sequence is handle dot randomize with number of iteration inside 5 is 20. So it will take any one of the value between 5 and 20 and it will assign to the number of iteration which is available in the sequence. Okay. So that the sequence can run up to 10 times if you assign like this. Then step 3, start the sequence. Okay. So how to start the sequence? By using start method which is available in the sequence. Then here this is the actual method, implementation of that method, okay, which is inside this sequence start method. So actually here we have 4 arguments. Okay, in these 3 arguments are optional. Okay, default values are assigned for this UVM sequence based parent sequencer, this null. And in integer, this priority equal to 100, default priority is 100. So bit call pre-post equal to 1. So this priority will be helpful when more number of sequences are trying to access the driver. Okay, I already told in the sequencer, inside the sequencer we have arbitration mechanism. So that arbitration mechanism we will discuss separately. So there, based on the priority, it will assign whether this sequence wants to access the driver or which sequence has the higher priority, it will assign that to access the driver first. Then bit call pre-post. So body method, it consists of pre and post body along with this body method. To enable that, you have to make it 1. So default it is 1. So the only one thing we have to pass is sequencer. So this is the way we have to do app write sequence. It is a sequence. Okay, by calling the start method. Okay, here within this bracket, I have to pass the sequencer. This argument I have to pass. Okay. So where the sequencer is present inside the environment, inside this agent, my sequencer M sequencer is present. So here M sequencer, I already told M sequencer is the default handle of a sequencer. Okay. So if you want, you can directly use M sequencer. Otherwise, you instantiated sequencer in the agent, right? That handle name you can do. Okay. So this is the another thing. So here we can also start the sequence from the sequence. Okay. So that I will explain later. Okay, we are writing on sequence, and I am calling that sequence in the another sequence. There I can able to start the sequence. Okay. So there also I can do like this sequence dot start sequencer handle. Okay, this is optional. You can give or you can leave it. Okay, sending sequence item to driver. So in this sequence body, we are doing these things. Okay. By using these methods, can able to send the sequence item to driver through the sequencer. So first thing is you have to create the sequence item. Inside the body method of sequence, you have to create a sequence item. Already sequence item we will instantiate, and then inside the body method we have to create that one by using create method. Then start item call. Okay, there is a call start item. So the start item and finish item is available in UVM sequence base. Okay. So when you call this start item, it blocks until sequencer grant access to the sequence. Okay. Sequence item sorry, before the start item, we have to create a sequence item. After that, start item is a call. It will check for the grant. Okay. Once this get next item pulls the data, so this sequencer will grant the sequence for start the process. Okay. Then when it grant, we will do set and randomization. Set means we can set values for the sequence item, or we can able to do the randomization for sequence item. Okay. Once the randomization is done, it will give a call finish item. Finish item request we will pass. Okay. So it is also blocked until driver completes its transfer. Okay, driver it want to transfer all the transaction to a field level. Once the item done is complete, it will give the grant. So then until that it is blocked. Okay. Once item done is complete, it will come out from the finish item. Okay. Then another method get response is there. So it is optional. If you want the response from the DUT to the sequence, you can use this get response. RSP get response you can give the argument you have to use RSP. So here and it will be from after item done you want you can get the response and here put here by giving get response we can able to receive the response from the driver. So this thing explained in code in the task body. Okay, for that I inserted a sequence item as item. Okay. So here in task body, first step is creation. You have to create a sequence item. Okay. Item sequence item type ID create. And second step start item. Start item item. Then once grant coming from the sequencer, it will do the randomization of the property of the sequence item. So item dot randomize with it's a constraint we are writing for address it is taking between 0 to this value. If it is failed to randomize, you will get this error. Then fourth step, how to call finish item. Okay. So when this comes from the finish item, once the driver completes all the process, that is transfer the signals to the DUT, then it will give the item done. So then it will come out from this task body. So this is the way we have to transfer the sequence item. Okay. With the help of sequence, we are generating here actually with the help of the sequence item, we are generating the sequence in the body method, and we are transferring the sequence item to the driver with the help of sequencer. Okay. Instead of doing this, create and start item and randomizing and finish item. So there is a macro UVM2. Okay. So when you use this macro, it will do all this process. Okay. You take UVM2, it's a macro available in UVM. So it will do all these steps. UVM create item. So task sequencer that wait for grant and pre-do item dot randomize function this mid do and sequence the send request item and wait for item done and function this post do. So here this mid do, pre-do, mid do and post do are the as like callbacks. If you want to include any functionality in between this UVM2, you can do. Okay. So if you use this macro UVM2, all this process will be automatically happen. Already told, right? Take UVM2, it will do all these steps. Okay. So if I use tick UVM create, these everything are a macro available. Okay. So based on the requirement, we can use this macro. If you use a tick UVM create, so item or sequence. Okay. We can pass a sequence item handle or a sequence handle. Tick UVM create, if you use, it will create a sequence item or a sequence. By using create method, automatically it will create. UVM send, tick UVM send, sequence item or sequence. So if you this will send the sequence item to the driver. Okay. So it will not do create and randomize. So these things we have to do. Okay, create, we have to using create method, we have to create it. Okay. And or you can use this macro UVM create macro, and after that you have to randomize the properties of the sequence item, and then we can use this macro to send the sequence item to the driver. Tick UVM ran send. So it will do randomization and it will send, but it not create the sequence item. So we need to do, only create a script. Okay. So we need to write the create method, or you can use this tick UVM create, and then you can use this macro for randomize the property, and it will send the driver. Tick UVM do with. So with means that is we can able to write the constraint for randomization. Okay. So here we have to pass the sequence item handle or a sequence handle, comma, can write our own constraint for randomization. So for that we are using UVM do with. So UVM do, everything will be happen automatically. Along with this, we can able to randomize the value with according to our constraints. Then tick UVM rand send with. UVM rand send with, it will randomize and it will send, and with means we can able to give the constraint. So here create is skipped. So we have to explicitly mention create method or using create with macro. Then UVM do pre. So pre, that is a priority. So for a particular sequence, we are giving the priority. So this will be helpful during the arbitration. Okay, to send the sequence to a driver. The sequencer will decide based on the priority. Okay. So UVM do pre with. That means along with the priority and constraints, we are generating sequence item. So first how to give the handle of sequence item or sequence, then how to mention constraint, and then priority. Third argument is priority. Tick UVM send pre. So it will send and priority you can give, but create and randomization we have to do. UVM rand send pre. So the same way, create a script. So you have to do create. So randomization and send and the priority it will happen automatically. And last one, UVM ran send pre with. Okay. Here also create a script. The rest of the operation it will do. So we will see one example. Okay. This is the snippet code of sequence. Here I am writing sequence, write sequence. Okay. Class write sequence, extends UVM sequence, and it should be parameterized with the sequence item type. Once you create this sequence, it should be registered with the factory with the help of UVM object. So sequence is inherited from UVM object, right? So it is an object, not a component. UVM sequence is an object. So you have to use the UVM object details. Then this function new. So a new constructor for this sequence. Then task body. Okay, inside the task body, the actual functionality. we are implementing. So here, one more thing, REQ, okay, request. This REQ is the default handle of the sequence item. Okay. Here I didn't declare, right? I didn't declare FIFO sequence item is REQ, like that. No need to declare. Here I am instantiating my sequence item. Okay. That is before sequence item on. Okay. Here I didn't declare this one because this REQ is the default handle of the sequence item. If instead of this REQ I am using SEQ item. Okay. If I declare like this, I have to use this one, SEQ item, as my handle. Okay. Everywhere instead of this REQ, I have to use this SEQ item. Okay. In body method, I create the sequence item. Okay. And start item REQ. Okay, this is the call. Okay, I am send the request to the sequencer for grant. Okay. Once I get the grant, I will do this randomization process. Here I am directly setting the value. REQ is the handle of sequence item. Inside the sequence item, I have write enable and write data. For that, I am setting the values. Once I done this, I am giving a call finish item request to the sequencer. Once the driver completes its task, okay, it will come out from this taskbar. So instead of doing this, okay, this is the one way you can do. Here I am using the macro, sequence macros. Take UVM create. Okay, this will do this step. Okay. Then REQ randomize. So it will do all these steps. And UVM send request. So it will send the request, that sequence item, to the driver. Here this is another example. I am writing a read sequence, that is a write sequence, and this is read sequence. This is extended from UVM sequence. Okay. In task body, I am creating a sequence item, and within start item, end item, finish item, I am assigning value for read enable as well. Okay. So these lines, instead of these lines, okay, I can implement those lines functionality by writing this one line. Tick UVM do with. So tick UVM do, it will automatically create, okay, and it will randomize. So here I am using with. So I can able to give the constraint also while randomizing. So automatically it will send to the driver. So all these steps it will do. So this is an example for sequence. So how I can able to access the sequence in the test? This is the test I created. So inside we have to interpret environment and also the sequences. Write sequences S1 and read sequences S2. So in build phase I have to create object for and also the sequences. And in the run phase, so between the rise objection and drop objection, I want to force my sequence 1 and sequence 2, after that is write sequence and read sequence to the sequencer at the same time. Okay. So I can use for join and I can start my sequences. Sequence 1 dot start the sequencer. So sequencer E is environment. Inside the environment I have agent. Inside the agent I have my sequencer handle. So if I can use M sequencer. Okay, M sequencer is the default handle of the sequencer. few more examples we will see based on this sequence macro. So UVM do macro. Okay, here this is a sequence I'm creating with the help of UVM sequence. Here, so task body UVM do request. So it will perform all the steps which I explained earlier. And this example shows how to use UVM create and UVM send map. Okay. So in task body, I am creating my sequence, okay. And this UVM create only create this sequence item. Okay. So then you have to explicitly randomize this one, and then by help of this UVM send, we can able to send the sequence item to the driver. Then UVM ran send macro. So ran send, it will randomize and send, but it will skip the create method. So explicitly we have to write this UVM create request. You can use this, or you can also use the create method to create this sequence item. Then UVM do with macro. So UVM do, it will do all the steps, which means we can able to use the constraint for while randomizing. So this first you have to give the handle of the sequence item, comma, after this you can write your constraint. Then UVM do pre macro. So already told pre is used to give the priority for this sequence. So this way you can do UVM do, it will do all the steps automatically. So along with I am giving pre, so I have to give the priority for this sequence. UVM do pre with, so that means you can give able to give the constraint and also the priority while randomizing. Request, this is the weightage, and this is the constraint. Then UVM ran send with, so ran send with, so the UVM create method is skipped, so that we have to write separate. Okay, starting sequence inside a sequence. So this is, in this way also you can able to start the sequence. So this is one sequence, class ram do sequence is a sequence I am creating with the help of UVM sequence, and it should be parameters with the sequence item type. Okay, once I create it, I have to register this to factory, and I am using new constructor. Then inside the task body of the ram do sequence, and 10 times I am doing this one. I am creating a, because there is sequence item handle, and using start item and get the grant of sequencer, and then I am randomizing the sequence item and giving the call of finish item. Okay, so this is one sequence I already wrote. Okay. This one I am calling to another sequence. That sequence name is RAM main sequence. It is also a sequence, and it is extended to UVM sequence, and it should be registered in factory. Here I instantiated this sequence, ran do sequence. I instantiated here as SCQH, and inside this body method, okay, and 10 times I am doing this. Okay, I create this sequence here. Okay, here I created a sequence item. Here I am creating this sequence. I instantiated this sequence, and I am create object for that sequence using create method, and I am start this sequence. This sequence. Okay. Sequence dot start m sequence. Okay. So this way also you can able to instantiate the sequence process. So that's all for today's class.